Yes, we are live.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session. Today's session is on the topic opportunities in AI academia and industry. The speaker for our today's session is Radhika Sethi. Radhika Sethi is a final year computer engineering student. She's always exploring the intersection intern at Providence last year. She has worked as a research assistant at UCI and is currently working on research projects at IISER. She has won Prathiba Eaton Award in 2021. Radhika enjoys automating tasks with a cup of coffee around. There is definitely a lot to learn from a perfect person to tell us all about the opportunities in AI academia and industry. Stay tuned with us till the end. For this super informative and interesting webinar. Now, without wasting any more time, I request Radhika to take it forward from here.
Thank you, Ritika. Hi, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. I'll be talking about opportunities in AI in academia and industry. So, just a bit of a disclaimer, this is based on my past research experiences, which will differ from person to person. It's a general discussion about the undergraduate industry and academic research that can go on. These are not the only pathways and opportunities in the domain, so be creative and seek out more perspectives. This talk is heavily based on the importance of networking and wanting to explore various opportunities during your undergrad. And opportunities in ML do not restrict you to vanilla ML. So this talk is not based on placements and data structures and competitive coding, but we'll just explore the amount of research and internship work that you can do during your undergraduate. So the purpose of this talk is to introduce you to machine learning and artificial intelligence. We'll go through the various applications of AI in different domains. We'll go through is it worth the hype? I'll share a few of my experiences and then I'll explain how can you pursue opportunities in this domain. And I hope that you can carry this forward and help others. So my experience and journey so far was explained by Ritika. But one of the current one is my BTech project at IISER. It's in the computational biology domain under the data science head at IISER. So coming to part one of this presentation, what exactly is artificial intelligence? So AI is a computer algorithm which exhibits intelligence through decision making. ML is an AI algorithm which allows the systems to learn from the data, and DL is an ML algorithm that uses deep neural networks to analyze the data and provide the outputs accordingly. So you have at the intersection is where you have computer science, you have your machine learning, deep learning, and where you have your data mining and data science. So when you're thinking about AI, I think the best way to learn AI is from memes because that's where you'll come across the recent trends in this industry. So Machine Learning India is one such page on Instagram as well as LinkedIn where you will come across a lot of machine learning memes. And of course, when you go through online courses, what they'll promise to you for you to learn would be like autonomous vehicle driving, that you will be able to design an algorithm on your own. But what you'll actually learn is first initially the basics. So the courses will of course start with the basics, which is regression, classification, data cleaning, and linear algebra. So don't be disheartened at that point. Okay, so coming to what is AI, you must have seen that a lot of people talk about that machine learning is statistics, or when they're talking about machine learning, they'll be talking about a lot of math. That is not true. Machine learning is not statistics. There's a common saying that when you're fundraising, it's called as AI because AI is a term which is known by everyone. When you're hiring, it's termed as ML because everyone wants to be a machine learning engineer. But when you're implementing it, it's something as easy as logistic regression. So the goal of AI is to make a smart computer system like humans to solve complex problems. Artificial intelligence is a technology that enables a machine to simulate human behavior. Machine learning is a subset of AI which allows a machine to automatically learn from the past data without explicit programming. But what is statistics? Statistics is a field of mathematics that deals with the understanding and the interpretation of this data. So machine learning is nothing more than a class of computational algorithms that can actually learn. Moving on. So when you're talking about applications of AI, AI is applicable in all of the domains that we know so far, be it AR, VR, be it finance, be it your travel industry, be it even your fashion industry. So, for example, when we talk about healthcare, NVIDIA is building tools for tumor detection from MRI scans or high throughput computing for medical data. When you're thinking of autonomous vehicles, you can think of Tesla and the work that they're doing. When you're thinking of space exploration, think of SpaceX and NASA. And when you're thinking robotics, think of Amazon Robotics and the work that they're doing. So you might question, is it worth the hype? According to Instagram, the new AI is bringing in more user engagement than before. Insta AI focuses on displaying the accounts that the users might like. Let's begin by saying that the content is varied on your Instagram. Your news feed can feature ancient Vedas to virtual reality. Hence, it is very difficult to recommend content. So instead of displaying the content which the users might like, they actually focus on displaying the contents which might interest the users. For this, they are using a machine learning concept known as word embeddings. So, what are word embeddings? Word embedding is a method used to study the order of words during a caption or a message. For example, a word embedding system would learn that hot is more likely followed by coffee or water, so hot coffee or hot water, than pigeon or TV. A similar process is used to find two accounts that are likely to interest each other. Now, you may ask that with a billion users, there may be users whose content might relate. How do you filter this down? So, you've understood that this needs to filter down. So, we need to filter down these recommendations. First, the AI looks at the user's previous interactions and the type of posts that they like. Then, a similar type of post and the content are sorted in a group of 500. AI then filters this group on the basis of spam, misinformation, policy violation content. So the remaining posts are then ranked on user engagement to a list of top 25, which is then viewed on your Explore tab. As this AI learns from your actions, if you interact more on your Explore tab, the algorithm in the AI would be able to rank the post better. In theory, the AI looks very promising and could be a game changer for both the users, marketers, and influencers on Instagram. So now that we know that AI is applicable in various domains and it is kind of worth the hype, how do you go about learning machine learning? So when you're going through the learning curve, you will feel the fear of missing out due to the variety of topics in machine learning that you could explore. But don't let that bog you down. Pick any one area and explore it. I think the best way that you can go about this is by following ML pages on Instagram, Twitter, subscribing to ML newsletters. And I think with memes is where you'll come across the recent trends, and that's how you can explore them. So, coming to how do you figure out if this field is right for you and how do you pick a certain domain? There is no right answer for this, honestly. It's all trial and error. You need to explore your interests and find out which branch of AI excites you. While studying the courses, you will come across NLP, computer vision, data analysis. This is when you need to understand yourself if exploring language technologies or working in image processing or handling big data excites you. Coming to the next, you can have more than one interest, so explore them all. You could be interested in NLP as well as computer vision. For example, you must have seen that there are a lot of projects that are based on, where you give an input as a caption and the AI actually generates the image for you. So that's one kind of a thing. And you might also be interested in fields apart from AI ML. So that's not a bad thing. That's a very good thing. And you can always explore at in those domains, how can you actually leverage AI ML for this domain? So the first step is to always identify what interests you. Then identify the problems in this domain and see if working towards these solutions of these problems excites you. And maybe while doing a lot of trial and error, you will come across maybe a few domains that do excite you, and this is how you pick your domain. But again, this is something that you have to explore. Anything at the beginning will always seem interesting, so give it time, give it 4 months, give it 5 months, see if going in depth in this domain actually makes you want to work more in this domain every day. And if that is the case, then this is the right domain for you and you should go ahead. So coming to why AI, the one reason that you can say is that studying artificial intelligence opens a world of opportunities. So at a very basic level, you will better understand the systems and tools that you interact with on a daily basis. And if you stick with the subject and study more, you can help create cutting edge AI applications. Some of the AI applications that we know today are the Tesla self driving cars, the Google self driving cars, or IBM's Watson. Point number two, studying AI now can prepare you for a job as a software engineer. Researching neural networks, human machine interfaces, and quantum artificial AI. Or you could also work as a software engineer in the industry, working for companies like Amazon for shopping list recommendation engines, or Facebook analyzing and processing big data. You could also work as a hardware engineer developing electronic parking assistants or home assistant robots. Coming to the third point, industries are evolving, so will the jobs. And the truly exciting thing is that the jobs for these type of projects did not exist 10 years ago. AI is a field that keeps growing and changing. And the jobs you're studying for now may evolve into something beyond your imagination by the time you begin working in this field. So, yes, right from day one of engineering, the focus is always on your data structures for campus placements. But make sure that you stand out during your interviews. And the one way you can stand out in your interviews is by exploring various domains, exploring various subjects and interests in this field. So, it'll be good to venture into this domain and figure out if it excites you. If not, you can always come back and figure out something else. But if it does, then that's a plus point. So, coming to part two, how do I build my skill sets? Let's understand how do you learn machine learning, the roadmap. The first point being AICVS holds various technical talks and competitions. Currently, I think they're going with the computer vision learning deck, which consists of the beginner level courses by Kaggle. They will be arranging their own quizzes and an introduction to Kaggle competitions. Next, you have free online courses which are on YouTube, Udemy, EDX, Coursera. Even Cummins has a Coursera account, so that's one way. But the main point being that you have to work on projects. So don't wait until you complete a course to start a hands on project. Start your projects first and then keep doing your course along. Because you will not learn as much in courses that you will learn when you are working on a project, when you're facing errors, when you're trying to solve them. So the roadmap actually is that you can pick up project ideas from Kaggle and upcoming hackathons. The best way is to actually Google the people that you look up to in this domain and find out what current projects they're working on, understand their work, and try to build a solution for it. This will also help in building a better portfolio to reach out to the people you want to work with. You can always keep a track of current research and form the project statements around it. Keep track of the TNP emails. There are many industry competitions that come up every month. They're 3 or 4 month long competitions. One of them that I participated in was the BTech challenge, and we had to present our paper at Bangalore. So it's not a bad idea to work on previously implemented problem statements, because you get to brainstorm and you can always fall back to these discussions or have a look at someone else's solutions to understand how you would proceed. For example, if you're working on the heart disease data set, the one which classifies if in 30 years someone's going to have a heart disease or not. Suppose you've already cleaned this data set and you've explored the data, you have the distinct features with you now. But how do you classify? So yeah, you would definitely know that you have logistic regression, you have naive Bayes, you have k nearest neighbors, you have decision trees, you have gradient descent. But and you must have also gone on the sklearn's website and learned, you must have seen the example of how logistic regression actually works. But you might have not understood how it would work in this current scenario where you have these many features and you need to bring them down. So to wrap up this slide, I would say that yes, you will learn in theory. You will learn a lot with courses, but when you're doing the previously implemented problem statements, this will actually help you to go back to the solution, understand how logistic regression would be applied in this current scenario, come back and implement it. Doing this a few times, you'll actually understand how machine learning algorithms or deep learning algorithms are implemented. And once you've understood this, you can tackle any problem and you can keep track of current research and form problem statements around it, and then reach out to other people and work under them. So to wrap up this slide, you will learn the theory in college of machine learning, of AI, but you need to build the projects and understand these implementations by yourself and grow. So coming to the next slide, now what? Now that you have learned machine learning, now that you've built projects and you have a basic Python and ML knowledge, with a few projects on your GitHub, you should gain real world knowledge in this domain. It can be very daunting to know of your interests, but you have 4 years to explore all of the domains that even slightly excite you. So the thing is that you need to build your resume, you need to build a CV and have a cover letter ready, highlighting your projects and achievements. So, just a small pointer out here that there is a difference between a CV and a resume. A resume is the document that is scanned in seven seconds. It's supposed to be a one-page resume. It's scanned in 7 seconds. It should be ATS friendly because if your resume is not easy to read, you do not clear the initial screening rounds. But your CV is a culmination of all of the work that you've done so far, so it can be as long as it goes. For example, right now at an undergrad level, it could be a two-page long CV, but when you go abroad and when you go for your masters or when you study, when you take up your PhD, you'll have a longer CV which will have all of your experiences, your projects, your achievements, everything. Come to the next point. So what are the type of opportunities that we have in this domain? There are industry internships, there are startup internships, there are management internships, but there are also research internships and there are research fellowships. So there are many different opportunities in this domain, but how do you get them? You get them via taking up internships or full-time jobs or fellowships. So here you have opportunities in the industry as well as academia. But an industry job does not restrict you. Many industry jobs require a research background or are research intensive. For example, a research scientist, a research software engineer, and so on. Similarly, academia does not limit you only to academic research. Multiple companies partner with academic labs and provide them with problem statements along with funding and a stipend, as well as an industry mentorship. So essentially, you are working in academia, but you're working towards a problem statement for a company. And this can also happen vice versa. So with these opportunities, what can you get into? You can get into software engineering, you can get into data analysis, you can get into machine learning engineering, you can also get into product management, project management, or business analytics. So many people have the question of, okay, now that I've learned machine learning, now that I've built my portfolio, when is the best time to apply? There is no answer for this. The best time to apply is now. Plan your corporate internships, your research, your final year project timeline. Make a timeline of your 4 years, that when are you going to be doing your corporate internship, when will you be doing your final year project, and then you will find these gaps in your timeline. So pick up those timelines and strategically plan that, okay, in these few months is when I maybe want to pursue some research under someone. It could be someone, it could be a Cummins professor, it could be a professor at an IIT, it could be somewhere abroad. But pick up these gaps and strategically plan them. Why do I say this? Because when you're working on multiple commitments at the same time, it can get chaotic, mentally as well as physically, especially with different time zones, if you're working in different time zones. So, just so that your work does not overlap with any other commitments or any other projects, it's a very good idea to form your timeline from right now. Pick up the months that you know that you will be free and then plan accordingly. So, coming to some research opportunities in AI, a few renowned research opportunities. You must have heard about the MITAX Global Link Research Internship. Microsoft Research India also hires for research interns. The Google Research India branch also hires for research interns. IBM Research and Vadhvani AI and Samsung Research are the three more. They hire a little less, but they always hire. They're always looking for undergraduate students for research. So there's this one GitHub repository that I've linked here. It's for the research internship. It's a list of research internships for undergrad students. I'll be sharing the presentation so you can click this link and explore those. Coming to industry opportunities in AI. So think of, when you're thinking of industry opportunities in AI, sit down for 5 minutes and think of all of the brands that you know of. Every brand that you probably can come up with is using AI and is probably looking for someone who can work in this domain. A few examples are Twitter India, Adobe India, Sony India, because I've seen these listings on LinkedIn and on Twitter. But any you can think of Myntra, you can think of Gap. Any brand that comes to your mind is always looking in this domain and is always looking for data scientists or an undergraduate students who can work in AI. So the key is always to be on the lookout for opportunities in the industry. Follow relevant people and hashtags on LinkedIn. Subscribe to the newsletters that actively update you about the openings in such companies. Be on the lookout for emails from TNP. Be active on Twitter for opportunities in startups in all of these domains. Angel.co is a really good website where you can get startup opportunities. And the last point being that industry internship applications, they start in June and July and they go until the April of next year. So you have a really long time period where you can continuously apply to a lot of places. Okay, so coming to part 4, understanding industry versus academia. Ritika, are there any questions till now?
Yes, we have one question. Um,
Yeah.
as a fresher, how to find the right project to kickstart the ML journey and reach out to other people to continue your journey?
Okay, so as a fresher, how to find the right project to kickstart your ML journey? I think the best way is, instead of spending a lot of time to find a relevant research project or a relevant project, I think the best way is to just go on Kaggle, look at the current competitions that are going on, look at the previous past competitions that have happened. Maybe any problem statement that makes sense to you and that excites you is good enough, because they've already been implemented. So even if you get stuck somewhere in the middle, you can always go back to those solutions and you can check out those and reach out to other people to continue your journey. You can always reach out to people by email, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Twitter is the fastest way. Your emails can get skipped sometimes because people in industry and academia, they get a lot of emails, but Twitter is the best. Yeah. Any other question?
No, not yet.
Okay, so I'll move on. Coming to part 4, understanding industry versus academia. This is important as the work style is different, is vastly different in both, and they have different expectations, and they have a different pace of work. So choose an industry and a work setting that blends with your style of work and then pursue that. So that's the goal of the next few slides. So, academia. Research internships are a good way to try your hand at research. Masters and PhD program admissions committee really value research experience. When you are going for a research internship, you get to dive deeper into a subject and truly understand this domain. And also, it's not just about academia. It's always a good topic to talk about during your corporate interviews. Everybody loves an employee with research experiences because it proves your potential and your commitment. Because pursuing research is not easy. And the last point being that most research internships are not paid. So this is a downfall of academia. At an undergraduate level, most of the research internships are not paid if you're working under professors. But if you're doing something like a program like the MyTax program, they're definitely paid. But how do you get into academia? Networking. So building your network on LinkedIn and Twitter. By this, I don't mean that you message a hi to your connections, but you need to have engaging conversations about the people you're talking to, about their work and their experiences, and staying in touch with them. For example, you might be interested in NLP, but you might also know someone who's working in TCS, which is theoretical computer science. It's not a bad idea to stay in touch with them because they might have connections with someone else who's working in NLP. And once they realize that your interests are in NLP, and if they know someone who's working in this domain, they might recommend you to work with them. The upside being that nobody will recommend you to someone who's bad or who does bad research, and that's why it's always a very good idea to maintain connections, to engage with people, and to share their experiences, to talk to them about their work and ask them if they know someone working in the domain that you are working in. Okay, so research experience is valued by the grad school admission committees, like I mentioned before. A research based program is a good idea if you're keen on pursuing research even after your undergrad. Although research based programs have their advantages, such as there is available funding, although limited as T and RA positions, these programs are super competitive compared to your course based master's programs. While course based master's programs would equip you with all of the knowledge needed to quickstart your journey in the industry, they limit your options if your goal is initially, to do a PhD or to work in research. But the downfall of a research based master's is that you can't take up as many courses due to your thesis work and your research. But this does not mean that if you've taken up a research based master's that you cannot apply for jobs in the industry. People will always value you, and people might value you a little more because you have research. Then the third point being that it is possible to do a direct PhD in the States. But other countries require you to have a master's degree in order for you to be able to pursue a PhD. In the States, a PhD in the States is a 6 year long commitment. So the first 2 years are initially your master's degree, and then your next 4 years is your PhD. But this is not the case in other places, for example, in Europe, in the UK, where you need to first have a master's degree, and then the PhD is a 3 year or a 4 year long commitment. So ideally, a PhD is an MS plus a PhD in the States. It's fully funded, and you actually get a stipend with it. So yes, when you are working in academia and you are applying for masters and you want to keep working in research, the one way that you can stay in touch with academia is by applying to fellowships and residency programs. Coming to industry, so Google and Microsoft's STEP internship programs for second year students and internships at startups can be a very good introduction to industry experience. These come with incentives and fixed work hours. Having a previous internship experience before your campus internship and placement rounds will actually help you stand out from the crowd during your interview rounds. And this will also help you to understand the hierarchy and the types of roles that exist in an organization, which help to understand what your interests and goals are and the work that you need to put in to reach to such roles. But how do you gain experience? Coming back to the point, networking is key. Set up professional networking profiles like your LinkedIn and Twitter. Cold emails. On an average, it will take 100 to 200 emails to land an opportunity. Professors and industry professionals are constantly on the lookout to get students involved in their projects, but do not be disheartened because it will take a lot of cold emails to get a single reply back. Keep your resume and your cover letter ready to explain why you would be a good fit for the role. Check out the careers pages on the websites of all of the brands that you want to work at and check if they're hiring. For industry, you can always look for the hiring managers of that role and reach out to them on LinkedIn, or if you can find them on Twitter. For academia, you can always ask your professors in college if they could recommend you. Professors have contacts and they will never recommend you to someone who's doing bad research. So this saves you. For example, with cold emailing, you could you could strike a call with someone who does bad research, and that could go wrong for you. But if you ask your professors to recommend you, they would never recommend you to someone who's doing bad work. So that's always a plus point. And read the professor web pages to find out if they're actively looking for students or if they have an upcoming project, and then shoot them an email. So yes, you have to keep working on your online presence. You have to just reiterating what you have to do. Cold emailing, keeping your resume and your cover letter ready, checking out career pages, looking for hiring managers and reaching out to them with your resume, reaching out to your professors to ask you to recommend you, and reading the professor web pages and then shooting them an email. So, coming to my experiences, how did I pursue research? How did I pursue internships and research? I had mentors who believed in me and who opened doors for me. Pre pandemic, I built networks while attending various conferences such as Machine Learning India, PyReady, Python Pune, Women in Data Science, JDG Cloud, and TensorFlow. I think now that the pandemic phase is going and everything's coming back into the offline mode, we'll be having a lot of these conferences again in the offline setting as well as online. So it's a very good opportunity to attend them in an offline setting because you get to network with so many people and you get to know about so many different hirings that are going on and so many different startups that are working on different things. But it's easier to do it online as well. It's just you can sit at your home and you can attend these online. So that's the ease. I participated in a paper presentation competition at BTech with my team, and we were the youngest team in the top 9 pan India. So, this was my first actual exposure to research. And during the pandemic, I worked on projects, open source contributions, took part in extracurriculars, and scotched LinkedIn for upcoming workshops or competitions and took part in those. I also worked alongside seniors on projects and understood how to write good code. PR reviews have helped me a lot to learn how to write good code, and I would always recommend that you go for open source contributions. You contribute code, you put in a pull request, and then you understand what the PR review is given by the mentor who's looking after the GitHub repo. So, how did I pursue internships and research? I actually also interned at a startup while taking campus coding tests for the summer 2021 internships. One thing that I don't mention in my slides is that I have been applying for scholarships for my first year. So I applied for a lot of scholarships like the Google Venkat Scholarship, the Adobe Women in Tech Scholarship, Goldman Sachs, along with Pratibha and Newtonix. So you have to. Um, it's always not just about in your internships and your research, but it's also about applying for fellowships, scholarships, or any kind of mentorship that you can as well. So I leveraged that network to understand what's next. When I was at my Adobe Women in Tech interview for my scholarship, is when the professor who was interviewing me, he asked me about various different technologies, and I think that's where I picked up, working on edge devices and everything. So you can always leverage your network, and you can leverage all of these experiences to understand what's next in the domain. I took part in various hackathons and online competitions, including a 48-hour hackathon that we came fourth in. And I applied for the Prathiba Eaton Excellence Award and researched for this, and I deployed applications. I was very unsure of my application at the time because I remember Pratibha Eaton mentioning that they're looking for students with a very excellent CGPA. So I was already disheartened at the first because I thought that I won't qualify for it. But that's not CGPA is not the only criteria. They're always looking for extracurriculars and the clubs that you're a part of, the work that you're doing, the volunteering that you're doing. And I think that's what set me apart from all of the other candidates, because I had work experience, I had volunteering experience. So with the Pratibha Eaton Excellence Award, I we had a 1 month to work on any topic that we wanted to pick up from a list of topics given by Eaton. I worked on adding AI to edge devices. So I had to research that. I had to come up with a solution how Eaton could do it for themselves. But also, for an example, I also deployed applications, and the only edge device I had at that time was my phone. So I deployed applications on my phone. So I started exploring various fields that actually leverage computer science machine learning by reading papers on Google Scholar and Papers with Code. Papers with Code is a very good website if you're unsure of where can you pick up project ideas from. Go on Papers with Code and look at the domains that there are the recent buzzing words, the buzzwords. You have the recent upcoming domains, and there are papers out there with the code linked attached to them. So these make for very good projects if you ever want to work on them. And I emailed professors whose work interested me, and I heard back from a few. For example, at UCI. I also attended various summer schools and academic conferences that were free to attend. So it was kind of a little chaotic for me. While I was interning, I was also attending a summer school, and part time I was also working at UCI. So it was chaotic. So please create this timeline if you can. Find out the months that you will have available for you to do research and then plan accordingly, because it really helps. If I had to explain my experience, UCI was a cross cultural experience. I got to work alongside grad students, PhDs, and bachelor students at the University of California. I learned to write my own neural network architectures and work with high dimensional biological data without any prior biology knowledge. I had absolutely no idea of what biological data is and how can that be used in a machine learning setting. So it took me a month to understand this data, and how do I convert this biological data into data that can make sense for a neural network, and then model this neural network and work with high dimensional data, come get it down to a low dimensional data and work with VAEs. And IISER has been a wonderful experience because we have a supportive mentor and advisor. You learn really cool facts when you're working on a research project. For example, I learned that random is not random. When you think of random numbers, or when you're writing code to generate random numbers, you're actually not generating random numbers. And this is something that I learned very recently, because random is not random. It follows a pattern, it follows a sequence. So yeah, if you want to read more about my experiences, I do mention them in my blog here at AICVS. And yeah, questions?
Yes. So we have a lot of questions in the chat.
Oh,
So the first question is, um,
can you
any
pin them
idea?
here? Can you pin the questions here?
I'll try. I don't know. Um, okay, I'm not able to do it.
Okay, fine. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the first question is, any ideas on projects related to the intersection in AIML and web development?
Okay, so for example, I think one that comes to my mind is GPT-3. GPT-3, they built this model in such a way that you can tell GPT-3 what kind of a web interface that you want or what kind of a website you want. So you write your comment that I want a website for my personal blogging page, and I want it to have so and so things. For example, I need it to have a sign up option, or need to have a send me a newsletter option. And GPT-3 would then build a basic HTML CSS website for you. So you can always work at this intersection where you are training a model that can learn from comments how to actually build an HTML and CSS files and build a website. So I think that's a good idea, but you can always Google for more.
Yeah, that is a great idea. So the next question is by Sejal. Can you tell us about your BTech research project at IISER? How did you apply?
So my BTech research project at IISER is in the domain of computational biology. We are trying to understand what are the mutations that take place in the DNA and how do these mutations occur, and what kind of a deformation in a cell can actually cause a mutation in the cell and can cause it to be a cancerous cell or any other genetic mutation actually. So how did we apply? My friends and I, we had an idea from the start that we wanted to do a research based project, and so we reached out to many professors in India as well as abroad. We spoke to a few actually. We spoke to a few people from NCL, and we spoke at IISER, and we really found my current advisor really enthusiastic, and so we knew that we had to work with her. So we just sent emails, and we got replies from them. We had calls with them. We understood what projects they currently had open and what they were willing to, how much time were they willing to give us and how much time we could give to them. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. The next question is by Piyusha. Can you suggest a few courses to get started with AIML for an absolute beginner?
Okay, so I have never really completed any machine learning course. I have actually learned it on the go. So I would probably be the worst person to tell you a course that you can pick up and do right now. But the only thing I say is don't pick up the course that people tell you to do because you're a beginner in AI and this is the course that you're supposed to do if you want to get into AI. Continue the course, like take up a course, watch the first lecture. If it's interesting enough for you to want to continue to the next, go ahead. If it's not, please move, find another course that you can, because at the end of the day you need to feel interested enough to want to move to the next lecture. It shouldn't feel like work. It shouldn't feel like that, okay, every day 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock I need to sit here and I need to do one lecture. You should want to do more. After doing one lecture, you should want to actually go back to your collab, code a little bit, come back, and go to a next this thing. So I personally do not like Coursera. I like Udemy, but I also like YouTube. So the most that I've always learned from is YouTube. It's called StatQuest. I think if I can just StatQuest is the name of the series. Is the name of the channel that I prefer to. But you can always Google and you can find out any of the courses. And if it makes you want to move to the next lecture, I think that's enough. And that's the course that you should follow.
Okay. So the next question is by Yamini. Could you give some information about Pratibha Eaton scholarship?
Okay, I think Pratibha already conducts a talk about this, does it? Does Eaton conduct a talk about the Pratibha Eaton scholarship at college?
Yes, I guess we had gotten a mail a few days back.
Okay. So about the Prathiba Eaton scholarship, it's by Eaton, the company Eaton. So they're looking for women who are all rounders in education as well as in extracurriculars, as well as someone who's also working, who's volunteering and who's working in other clubs and everything, who's like basically an all rounder. It's not just your education. So this is the Pratibha Eaton scholarship has three levels. The first is an application, so that's where they ask for your resume, that's where they ask for your CGPA and all of the work that you've done so far. 10 students are selected from this, and 10 students are then they're given a 1 month timeline, and they're given a few select topics. So the topics are you have 10 topics for software engineering and you have 10 topics for hardware engineering, and you can pick up any of the topic that you want. It's just that for that 1 month you're supposed to do your research on this topic, find out maybe how Eaton could benefit from this, and then also be able to that's on you if you want to implement it or not. I implemented it, but others did not. So that's about Eaton. So you the 10 students are selected, you get a 1 month time frame, and after that you have a presentation. So you have a 10-minute presentation where you actually present all of your research findings, also as well as how can this project help Eaton. By the way, they had all of the topics that they have, they change every year. And sorry, the topics change every year, and they're very recent topics. So it's something that you might find very uncommon right now, but a year from now you will read about it more and more every day when you are reading on LinkedIn or Twitter. And yeah, after those 10, they select the top three people, and the award is given to the top three people.
Okay. So the next question is by Gauri. How to seek projects at universities like IITs, IICR, or any other company?
Okay. So, if you want to seek projects at academic institutions, the first thing is that they will always advertise what openings they have. So, you should always, firstly, whatever IITs you're targeting or whatever university you're targeting, try following professors from that university, and even in the professors who are actually in your domain from that university, and try following them on LinkedIn, Twitter, everything. Because once there are openings available for undergraduate students for research, they will always repost those, and that's how you will first come across them. The second way is that you can always look at their IITs, you can always look at their websites. So IIT might have they have a separate page. I think IITs have a separate page for openings in research. As well as the third thing being, keep a list of all of the professors that you find most exciting, and keep checking their web pages, I think regularly, like once a week maybe. So if there's any change, or if they're looking for undergraduate interns, if they have any projects open, they will always advertise it there, and you can reach out to them then.
Okay. The next question is by Sejal. Do companies offer AI specific roles on campus?
Okay, so I don't think there are any AI specific roles as such in campus, but a few companies do come for business analysis or data analysis. So that's pretty close to what you could do in the same domain.
Okay. So the next question is by Nisha, and she asks, how can we apply for any entry level AI specific roles off campus?
Can we apply for entry level AI specific? Yeah, yeah, sure, definitely. You're supposed to apply for them. Industry people are always looking for undergrad students, and especially freshers, because we bring in a lot more ideas than someone who's actually been working in the industry for 10 plus years. So they're very open to freshers. Please apply for any kind of roles that you can. Sometimes, even if the roles specify that you need to be someone with maybe 2 years of experience and so on and so forth, if you feel that you match the other criteria, which is knowing SQL, knowing machine learning, knowing how to code in PyTorch, you can always reach out to the hiring managers and tell them that, hi, I think I match all of your criterias, except that I don't have 2 years of work experience, but can we do something about this? And I think that should work.
Okay. The next question is by Mitali. She is asking, what are the benefits of applying for AI specific roles?
I'm so sorry, your voice got cut. I read the question though. Can you tell me more about bioinformatics? Okay, so bioinformatics is a field of machine learning, which is AI. You have data science, and you're also working in biology. So essentially, what you're doing is trying to take up the data from the domain of bio, and you're trying to work with ML and AI techniques, and you're trying to find answers to the problems in the biological domain. So in bioinformatics, you're essentially always working with biological data, converting it into data that can be understood by machines, and then trying to find inferences from this data and trying to answer solutions in the biological domain. So that's what it is. Computational biology and bioinformatics are pretty similar.
Okay. The next question is by Shruti. She's asking, if someone has interest in machine learning and data science and specialization program, what will you suggest and what is in demand?
Uh, if someone has interest in machine learning and data science and is confused to go with research based masters or 1 year data science specialization program, what will you suggest and what is in demand? Um, you shouldn't go for a research based masters if you are not sure in your mind that you want to work in research long time, because that's going to be a 2 year commitment again. You will be working on a thesis. So getting head started into a thesis based program without actually knowing that you are interested in research is a bad idea. I think the best way for you to actually understand if you like this domain, if you like research, is by actually doing a research internship first. If it's hard to find a research internship elsewhere, wait, you can always contact the dean R&D of college. They will always know what are the kind of openings in research currently under which professors, and they will link you to those professors. If not, you will always have a few professors that you like and whose subjects you like, right? So you can always reach out to them, do some research under them, see if you like this domain, see if you want to pursue it further. And you can always do your data science specialization, but it doesn't need to be a 1 year data science specialization. You can even do, I think there are online diploma courses for data science specialization, or you can just do courses. So it depends on what you like. If you like research and you want to go ahead, please do an internship, figure out if that's something that you really want to do. If you really like to sit down, think about things and work, great. If not, you can always switch to data science. And yeah, both of these things are in demand. It'll always be in demand, so that's not a thing to worry about.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Ritika has
So the
some.
next question is, how did you connect to professor at UCI?
Okay, so I was looking for, I think around that time was when I realized that I really like biology and I wanted to explore more in biology. So I just searched on Google for universities that are good for computational biology. When I was able to find a list for universities that are good for computational biology, I started looking at professors who are working in computational biology in those universities. And again, I looked at their pages. A few of the professors were open to undergrad students from other countries, and they were open for remote work, and they were also open for a research internship for any time, any amount of time. So that depended on the conversation that you had with them. So I sent her an email and I got a reply back in around 3 or 4 hours, and we had a discussion about what are my current qualifications, how much do I know about biology, how much do I know about AI, what do I know about coding basically. And according to that, she understood what my interests were, and she had a project open in that domain. So she connected me to her PhD student, and that's how I started working under her. So it's easy as that. You have to, but you have to make this streamlined process of looking at universities, looking at professors, looking at projects, and then emailing them. And I think an email cannot be as simple as, hi, I want to work under you. It has to be more detailed, which talks about the research that they have done, the kind of research that you think you're interested in, and what kind of qualifications do you have to match this kind of a project. And yeah, they will always reply back.
Okay, I think Ritika has some issue with the net. So the next question is by Vaishnavi. What skill set will you suggest if you want to get into the industry for ML engineer role?
Okay, so if you want to go into the industry for an ML engineering role, I think you need to have a basic knowledge of machine learning, because your interviews for a machine learning engineering role will be based on your basic machine learning engineering skills, which is if you can code in it, if you know how to work in NLP. Again, if you're applying for an ML engineering role, you'll be applying for a specific role, which is an NLP or computer vision or data analysis. So you should be really well thorough with the domain that you're applying for, because your subsequent interviews will be based on this knowledge, and that's how you'll go ahead. So your skill set depends on the role that you will apply for in machine learning engineering, but you need
Okay,
to
so
know how to
the
code machine learning.
yeah, yeah. So the next question is by Yamini. Is research experience required for the roles in AI and ML? For industry roles in AI and ML?
Not necessary. If you're someone who's really confident, and who's worked with a lot of projects and knows um, how, when given a problem statement, how you can break it down and you can start working in this, I don't think research experience would be necessary out there, because you already have a sense of how things work in the real world and how a problem statement can be taken and broken down and be worked on. It's not required. If you have it, it's always good to have research experience, because it'll always be, employees with research experience are always valued more. But if you don't have it, it's also fine.
Okay. So the next question is by Sannidhi. Just wanted to ask a general question. How did you manage your time while doing internship, managing research project, and along with the college academics?
Okay, so for me, I started exploring all of this during the pandemic. So college academics was on a bit low for me at the time, and I was able to give my time to. Actually, my timeline was a little bit chaotic, because, for example, during my third year, when I was doing my summer internship at Providence, I was also taking up the summer school, as well as also part time doing some bit of UCI project work. So for me it was a little hectic, because but I did not have college academics at the time. But yes, it got a little hectic for me. And previously in my second year, I was doing my internship as well as managing college academics, as well as giving my tests for the next summer's internship. It gets hectic, but maybe what you can do is you can push your work of maybe college academics and studying only during the college hours. For example, only during that 1 hour lecture that you are attending for AIML, you only study it during that time, and then you look at it only at the weekend. And your internships can always go on in the evening or in the mornings, however you like it. And your research projects can always move to the weekend. So you have to strategically plan what time can you give where. Try to not cram them in a single day, because for a week during my third year internship, I was only sleeping 3 hours, and that kind of affected me physically as well after that. So I had to take a break, come back. So don't do that. Don't cram everything. Give everything enough time, and also take enough rest, and always have one rest day in the week where you're only watching like movies or something like that, so that you're refreshed when you come back.
Okay. The next question is by Piyusha. If we want to get involved in a similar research which you are involved in IISER, can you help with it?
Depends on what kind of help you want. If you want me to help in your project, I can't. But if you want help in what kind of professors are doing the same work, yeah, I can send you those names. But you can also Google that.
Okay. Yeah. So the next question is by Pranjal. How can students from non-computer science or IT background, core branches in short, get into the field of AI and machine learning?
Okay. Oh, I have the best answer for this. You do not need to be from a CS or IT background to get into this domain. For example, one of my seniors that I look up to, who's actually my mentor, Meghna, was from ENTC. But she has been working in machine learning. She's been working as a machine learning engineer for the past 3 years now. So it's not about the background that you come from, but it's about the work that you put in to get into this field, and the work that you put in to build such projects, build such connections with people, and applying for such roles that get you into this domain. So it's never about your background. And I think if you have a different background, it's much better, because you have a diverse You have much diverse skill sets. You know how to work with the NTC, but you also know how to work in computer science, and you also know how to code, and you also know how to work with AI. So it's always a good thing.
Okay. So thank you, Ree. I think we are done with the questions.
Okay. So
Uh,
I guess that's the end. Thank you so much. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can ask me questions out there. And that's my email.
yeah. So thank you so much, Ree, for super informative talk. Like this talk will be definitely prove beneficial for all the listeners.
Thank you so
And
much,
even
and I
I
hope you can
learned,
carry this forward.
yeah, even I got to learn a lot from this session.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.